Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, jointly presented by Wood for Trees and Aptico. So today we're going to talk about and demonstrate the ability to include social media and real-time website integration in your campaign and journey activities. So just introducing who you're going to meet or see on screen today. So I'm Matthew Tamia, I'm the Solutions Director at Wood for Trees, joined by my colleague Nick Cook, who is a Senior Solutions Consultant here at Wood for Trees, and Liz Walker, who's a consultant with our software partner, Aptico. So just very quickly, for those who don't know us or haven't worked with us, don't worry, I'm not going to spend ages on introducing who we are. As far as Wood for Trees goes, we often say that we will do anything with data, and that's perhaps a bit of a wide description, but what we do is we work with some of the best known charities and not-for-profit organisations to help improve fundraising efficiency and performance. And from our standpoint, that involves using data to provide insights through consulting and analytics and database solutions such as single support views. And those are surfaced to end users via applications like Aptico, but also via our own solutions such as the Insight Hub platform. And Aptico focus on providing easy to use software which can consume all of your organization's transactional and multi-channel data sources, and from which actionable insights can be gleaned. And clearly the actionable element there is really important. And as we'll see, it's an aspect that Aptico software provides through a nice, elegant, easy to use interface. So the complete set of Aptico software encompasses design for creating your FastStats database, so consuming all your sources together. FastStats itself, which is used to interrogate and visualize your data, so querying and so on. PeopleStage for multi-wave omni-channel campaign management, and Orbit for web-based querying and dashboarding. So the focus of today's session, just by way of intro, is around utilising marketing and campaign automation to include social media platforms and real-time website interactions. So clearly we're looking at the spread of possible touch points that an organisation can have with their supporters, and uplifting response from the wider, more relevant and potentially preferred channels that supporters are using. And when we talk about marketing or campaign automation, if you just Google marketing automation, you'll get a lot of definitions that seem to focus on the digital side of things, the online channels, etc. But in reality, your marketing and campaign automation should be about using all channels, online and offline. There should be a complementary set of communication methods, and it's that age-old adage of getting the right message to the right person at the right time. But really, we want to make sure we're increasing the relevancy of communications and giving a more personalised experience. Just as a quick aside, Aptico's website has a free e-guide you can download. So if you navigate to aptico.com and select the Insights menu, there's lots and lots of blog articles and white papers and so on there. This one around using intelligent campaign automation to maximize results has a slide share and a link where you can download the free e-guide. So go grab that after the session, have a read. Hopefully it will supplement what we're going to talk to you about today, give you some extra information. So a lot of you will be familiar with Chief Martech. So this is a slide that I grabbed from his website, Scott Brinkler's website, and it just shows the growth in marketing technology over recent years. It's exploded. There are so many platforms people can use, and often the challenge is, where do you start? What platforms do you choose to utilize? Hopefully today we'll show you some good examples of making that leap using the Aptico software that we're going to show. But Before we do that, let's just step back a little bit, because something happened in 2019. It's been all over the news, you might have heard about it. And this impacted most of us, of course, in 2020, sort of around March 2020, when we all went home and have been working there in large part ever since. But when the pandemic struck, it meant that a lot of the communication and fundraising channels that organisations used were just pulled from underneath them, pretty much overnight in some cases. So thinking of things like retail, face-to-face, and events, they suffered massively. What we did see off the back of that was things like postal communication channels rising to the fore again. But initially, a lot of people were still quite averse to that channel as well, in terms of recipients, because of fears of contamination. So it was crucial to establish, promote and maintain other communication and fundraising methods instead, or as a complement to what people had used before. Just picking a couple of quick examples from our own client base. So Blue Cross partnered with TikTok, social media platform, with the Pet BFF campaign. And in this campaign, TikTok donated £1 to Blue Cross for every video shared with that Pet BFF hashtag. I thought that this was quite a nice example of that, with a tiny dog having an absolutely enormous afternoon tea. I'm not really sure how much of that it would have got through. But the point is that the ability for both existing supporters and non-supporters to interact with this campaign meant that vital funds were getting to Blue Cross. And the viral nature of this kind of thing meant obviously the spread of awareness into potential new supporters was massive. This particular campaign actually ran August 2019, so it was just prior to the pandemic. But what it meant was that they'd seen a great model to utilise, follow and continue to use once the pandemic actually hit big time. Second example, cats protection. So cats have embraced the digital side of things during the pandemic, and their online activity just has reached outstanding results. Any of you who were at the Aptico live conference in November last year might have seen us presenting with them, talking about the new coding structure that they've put in place on their data, which in reality just meant that they could truly see where the income was coming from in terms of both the outbound and the inbound channels, which meant that they could obviously then see the true effect of their use of social media and digital channels in terms of where the income was being obtained. And you can see on the right hand side there that over 50% of their income for both mass participation events, which obviously would have historically been face-to-face type activities, and memberships as well, were generated from social media outbound channels. So given that the impact that the pandemic had had on real world charity events, the fact that cats protection were able to generate such significant virtual event income with such a big proportion from social media was just outstanding. Just briefly looking more widely, the Charity Digital Skills Report last year showed 67% of responders were planning to invest more in digital infrastructure and systems this year, with 59% planning to invest more in data skills. And that's really important. It's not just about the platforms, it's also about the people using them, their skills, their plans, their creative capabilities, and so on. The creative and the process and the planning, all of that needs to come together to build a cohesive, compelling set of communications with the right skills and the right people to define and manage it. So the two things need to work hand in hand. Same report also showed that improving digital channels was a big priority for a number of organisations, with 42% rating that as a key objective for this year. So digital is obviously growing, organizations can still gain significant income from traditional channels as well. But the point is really that it's the mix of channels. It's using all the channels available to you to the best effect. In terms of what those channels could be, obviously we've got all the traditional offline channels and the online channels, but in terms of how they're used, we could have organizations just using a single channel. So all activities just going out on one channel, whether that's post, phone, email, whatever. They could be using multiple channels. So they could be using post and email, but they're just in isolation. There's no communication between those channels. There's no awareness of what's going on between those channels, but they do at least have multiple channels in use. They could be using cross-channel activities, so those same channels can actually work together. They can work in a more connected manner, and they're able to pass supporters between those channels as they progress through the journey. And finally, what we're looking at focusing on today is the omni-channel environment, where we still have multiple channels, but they are interconnected. They're simultaneously exchanging information between them for maximum engagement. And it's not just limited to contact that's initiated by the organization to the supporter. It could also be that those channel interactions also encompass new prospects coming in from external websites. So that could be the first activity that somebody does. Or it could be an existing supporter kind of injecting themselves halfway through a campaign workflow. But in either of those cases, and with the entire mix of channels, the software needs to be able to react and manage people accordingly. And of course, you need to have the consents in place to make sure that where you've got these multiple channels, you do in fact have the ability to speak to people within them. So finally, just from me before I hand over to Liz, just looking back at the last couple of years of Aptico Live conferences, there was a common poll question that was asked to attendees, asked of attendees who were there, which was, what was your level of campaign automation? And actually, we can see on the chart that between 2020 in blue and 2021 in green, there's not actually that much difference between the 2 years in terms of, suddenly people going multi-channel and so on. There's still a high volume of people who are using single channel. There's still a high volume of people who are using cross and omni-channel. So the general pattern hasn't changed that much. However, for the people who were using multi-channel or omni-channel, and who knew the effect of the multi-channel engagement on the response rates. In the 2021 conference, people were asked what that effect was, and we can see 79% of responders to that question said that their response rates from using multi-channel communications had increased by at least 5%. 15% of those responders said that it had increased by more than 20%. So some significant effect, but it's not just about using more channels. You can't expect to just pile more channels in and suddenly get a massive uplift. It has to obviously be aligned with the communications being attractive, being relevant, and utilized appropriately. But obviously spanning a wider breadth of touch points means you're more likely to connect with the supporter on the channel that's most relevant to them, that they would see consistent messaging across other channels that they might use, and also that you as organizations know, track and understand which touch points those supporters have interacted on. So overall, it's all about improving the experience that the supporter has of your organization to the best effect. So that's me for now. I'll pop back later, but for now I'm going to hand over to Liz, and Liz is going to cover some of the specifics of how we use Aptico software with social media and real-time integration, and then Nick's going to give us a live demo of the software in action. So I'll hand over to Liz.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Matt, and hello, everybody. My name is Liz. I'm a consultant here at Aptico. And I want to take this opportunity really to take you through Aptico's products, social integration with our kit, and also introduce you to real-time capability. And that should move us seamlessly on then to Nick's demo. So Aptico's strapline or mission really is to provide you with the capability to turn insight or data insight into action. And we can start with Aptico FastStats, and that is your analytical capability really to really take all of your data and to really drill down into the data trends, the data patterns, and ultimately to work out who you wish to target or analyze further. Now, once you've got that, you could then turn that into action. And what we mean by that is you might have a model that finds lookalikes for those people, or perhaps you want to start a conversation with them. And you can do that through Aptico People Stage. And that's our campaigning solution, if you like. It might be that you actually want to draw some data insights, you want to visualize them in an area where you can share them to your colleagues, and that data story can then be shared, your findings can be shared, and people can have a greater understanding of those people. And you can have that through Aptico Orbit. So really, in a nutshell, our products allow you to discover, to action, and then make decisions off the back of all of that, that will then inform what you do next. But we're here to talk about communications, so I will focus a little bit on People Stage. And People Stage is our multi-stage, multi-channel campaigning solution. It allows you to draw campaigns. Maybe they need to be simple, maybe they need to be full journeys, but People Stage will allow you to do both and execute that through online and offline channels, so you can do a mix. What you can also do is schedule it on an ad hoc basis. You can schedule them on a recurring. Perhaps you want to schedule them based on interaction of that communication or an event trigger. And People Stage allows you to do all of that. It also feeds back communication history. So you want to know kind of the success of your campaigns, of course, and also the success of those channels. And by feeding back all of that communication history into FastStats, or to show it in the reporting in Orbit or the reporting in People Stage, gives you an idea of what's successful in terms of your campaigns, and more importantly, which channels have been successful. There's also a focus within this webinar to talk about social media. So I've added this in just to show you our capabilities. So we integrate with the main social players, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. WhatsApp for Business is a relatively new one. It's getting released in all its glory in Q1, which is going to be released soon. And then we have Google Analytics to give you an idea of kind of what's driving that website traffic, and also Google Ads as well. But I can say all of that, but what does that actually mean? And so the table on the right-hand side just shows you to what extent that integration is. So for Facebook, we can post to the pages, and we have the facility for integrating with paid ads as well. For Twitter, post to page, ads, and direct message. For LinkedIn, it's just posts at the moment, but we are looking at ads all of the time. We want to integrate with that. Google Ads is search ads, and WhatsApp for Business, as I've described before, is all about direct messaging. We often get asked, so I'll just cover it now. In terms of Instagram, we don't have a full integration with Instagram, but you can tick a box within Facebook ads to say also serve that ad to Instagram, so we can kind of get away through that. And also, we don't have a full integration at the moment with Microsoft ads, but I'd be really keen to understand whether there is a priority for it, whether you guys use it, because it is kind of on our roadmap of integrations, and we'll look to scope it soon. But what are the benefits really? So I can go into Facebook, I can create a target list, and I can send that, up to and serve my ad within the platform itself. So what's the benefit of using Aptico and social? And I guess there's three. The first one is regarding ads. So yes, you can create a target audience within the platform itself. But what we can do is allow you to harness all of that data that you've got within FastStats. And you can really use your analytical capability to work out, well, who are these people I actually want to target? And from there, you can create a custom list. And that then PeopleStage can send over to the platform on a schedule that you wish. And then Facebook will serve the ad. When you're looking at ads and you're looking at lookalikes, you might also feel it's important to send an exclusion list over of definitely the people you don't want Facebook to match to, as an example, but it could be whatever platform you've chosen. Because these could be new signups or complainers, the people you don't want them to see that particular ad. And again, you can utilize the power of FastStats and all of the data within it in order to create an audience in PeopleStage can use to send then that list over. So you can have a custom list and an exclusion list going at the same time in one campaign over to the relevant place within the platform. And then PeopleStage will take control of the send once the files have been matched by the social platform. The third benefit, I guess, is what I kind of alluded to before, which is all about having your campaign stats in one place. So you can run campaigns which are based on direct online channels, offline channels, and social platforms. But having a holistic view of that campaign and then the success of those campaigns in one place through the reports, or maybe a custom report that you create in Orbit on a dashboard you can share with your colleagues, is really valuable rather than going through in every platform and picking out the stats. So how does it all work? Well, on a very top level view, PeopleStage needs to talk to your platform. So it needs to talk to your business account and the pages. And it does that through kind of a social API. Now, it used to be that we didn't have that connection. We now do have an Aptico API, and that kind of halves the time or it takes for you to set up this integration. So we need to allow PeopleStage to send information over to your account, and also for PeopleStage to pull data back from that account as well, like interactions, comments, likes, shares, those are the sorts of engagement statistics, so you can make a decision of whether the channel is doing what it should do. Once you've got that social API in place, and you can use the Aptico app, as I said, we will integrate your business accounts with the social API, and then there's a little bit of permission that we require going back and forth just to seek that permission to get your business accounts onto the social API and to allow PeopleStage to talk to it. Once that's happened, we can set up the channel within PeopleStage and we can start to campaign. So relative process-wise is quite easy and it's quite quick to set up now that we've got that app. So I mentioned before, PeopleStage works on schedules. So you can have an ad hoc schedule, you can have a recurring schedule, or a triggered schedule based on an interaction. But you'll probably know those events, those campaigns. You'll be setting up those campaigns with an event in mind. So it could be a monthly newsletter to your supporters. You'll know when that needs to go. You'll have all the communication collateral in place, and you'll be scheduling that on a regular schedule. It might be that you have an event such as a ballot opening for a running event, or perhaps even closing for a running event, so that you can send a communication out to say, if you weren't successful, come run with us. But again, you know that event, you know that that's taking place. So PeopleStage is really good at doing all of that. It's good at creating a campaign and allowing you to run those campaigns lights out. What we actually felt that there was a need to be able to communicate in the here and now. So react to those events that are happening, be proactive in our communications. And that's why we've integrated Aptico with Kafka. And Kafka is our event streaming, is an event streaming platform that we've integrated with to allow you to react in real time to any kind of events that are happening, maybe on your website, or perhaps an external event that you need to kind of know, and then send out the communications to your supporters. So a very high level example of how it all works. You may have a lot of events, and it doesn't have to just be a website. It can be a platform, different platforms and external kind of sources that are producing all of those events. But in our case, let's keep it simple. Let's just go with a website just for this example. Now, a website can have many interactions. It can have many events. It can have a person, a visitor signing up to things. It could have a visitor purchasing something off your site. It could have a person clicking on a donation button, find out more about an animal that they wish to adopt or visit, fostering perhaps for those animals. It could be, let's chat about a legacy donation. It could be anything, but it's an interaction of loads and loads of events that are happening on that website. Kafka sits in the middle. And if you think about Kafka as your inventory, so it's looking at all of those events and it's logging them. And it's logging them in preparation for something to consume those events. And in our case, it's people stage. So people stage is going to call Kafka. It's going to ask, have you got a particular event that I want? And when it does, Kafka's going to take that event and pass it through to people stage, and people stage will trigger a campaign in order to then, for that particular communication, maybe it's an acknowledgement of someone signing up or something like that. So people stage will sit there and it will pick out the logged events. But usually when you are creating an event on your website, you're also picking out information. So for example, if you're signing up to something, you'll probably ask your recipient for their name, their email address, their preferences or their interests, for example. And all of that data is wrapped up into that event and is sent to Kafka. So Kafka's got the fact that that event happened and all of the data around it. And people stage will also consume that. So you'll be able to create a personalized creative or copy to send over to those people just based on that information about that event that you picked up when they signed up. Now, what's really good is that if you know about that person, you can also enrich that data that you're pulling through with your pull marketing store, which ultimately is all of your, well, it could be a select bit of your data within FastStats that you really want to use to enrich your content. It could be segmentation, labels, it could be LTV scores, it could be imagery flags or anything you've got within your data. It could be drive times, anything that you've got within your FastStats system, you can place into the pull marketing to be ready for when that event happens so that you can start to complement the data you're already receiving from the Kafka with additional information from your FastStats system. That allows then your copy again to be enriched, but also to be very relevant and interesting and sent at the point at which that person is most engaged with you. So they've asked you to do something and you are responding with something that's really tailored to them. So that leads me nicely then onto our scenario introduction. And really what we're going to do is we're going to showcase, or hopefully showcase to you, that you can deliver a more personalised choice of fundraising activities to inspire supporters to sign up. And our objective here is to really show you how you can create a multi-channel campaign which can deliver a personalised message, but it's consistent. The point is that across those channels, the message is consistent, it's relevant, and hopefully, because of that, you'll see then an uplift in event sign-ups. But of course, there's much more than just a campaign setup that would lead to that. So I'm going to talk you through the flow and then I'm going to pass over to Nick for the demo. So if you have ever been to Aptico Live or you have ever been to any training sessions with us, any demos, you will know that we have a demonstration system called Teal Green Holidays. It's all based on holidays data. Now, to make it a little bit more applicable to the audience that we've got, if you can imagine that Teal Green Holidays has partnered with Teal Green Charities. So you as a recipient, as a you sign up and all you have to do is train for the event and fundraise, and Teal Green Holidays will provide you with the holiday package, so the transport and the accommodation to get you there so you can complete the event. So our journey or scenario starts with an email and some social posts about the partnership. And what we're going to do is we're going to entice you all to sign up or log in to find out more. And the sign up and the login on the website is the event. Okay, that's the Kafka bit. Now we're going to show you that in real time, by you signing up or you logging in, depending on whether you're new or you're existing customer to us, we will show you that we can change and we can send information to multiple channels to make it more interesting and relevant to you. So we're going to show you that the website can change because we know about you, and we can show you any recommended events that might be more interesting. At the same time, we can send a channel through email, so we can send an email communication, and those messages will be consistent. And then to test the hypothesis, I suppose, or to hypothesize, we're going to say that because we're sending that relevant and timely communication, that we are enabling you or helping you to increase your charity sign-ups. So without further ado, I shall pass over to Nick, who will take you through all of this in action.
Thank you, Liz. As Liz has previously just mentioned, we're going to run through a live demo scenario using these multiple channels, including social media and the new real-time streaming capabilities. Before I get started, based on all of that information that you've just received and anything upcoming in this demo, if any of you've got any questions, just please plop them into the chat, into the question section within the GoToWebinar, and allowing for time at the end, we should be able to address any of those questions that you may have. So jumping in to the demo now, just taking a little step back before we go into that actual scenario, because I understand that there may be some people on this call today that may have not seen PeopleStage before, and the kind of the flow that we've got, the build up of that flow uses some very kind of simple two-step campaigns to build up that journey, albeit they are interlinked in somewhat, but they're kind of very simple two-step campaigns. So I just wanted to kind of get across the point that PeopleStage can not only just be used for those kind of very simple two-step communications, whether it's a newsletter or part of a wider journey, it is also fully capable, as Liz would have mentioned, multi-channel, multi-stage campaigns. As an example here, we've got this sponsor welcome journey, which takes new supporters, new sponsors, right from day one of deciding to become a new sponsor, right through to the very bottom of the campaign 4 months later. So that whole journey of taking them through. But this uses multiple channels from email to phone to mail, and at each point it can obviously check consent for those channels and preferences what supporters may have decided to make throughout their journey. So for example here, when we come ready for a welcome call, that consent will be checked here. If they have that consent, they can then go through and receive that welcome call. However, if they do not have that consent, instead of exiting the journey, we can just pass them down to the next part of that journey. And that flow then continues. So that supporter then gets the relevant communication based on their consent and preferences. And with regard to email and social channels, this isn't just a single way of communication. It's actually two-way. So for email and social, we receive interactions from those providers, things like opens, clicks, likes, comments, shares, all retrieved through something called the FastStats response gatherer, which is downloaded into a response database, which then can be used in several ways. Can be used by PeopleStage, and it could be used as part of this journey, but also show you the first stage of the flow that I'm going to show in a minute. We can use things like bounces to alter the path of that journey. But the more important part of that is that data, those interactions also get fed back into your FastStats system alongside your other data, that allows you to then analyze those responses and actually kind of make decisions on future communications for each supporter to say, well, actually, these supporters are more interacting with these types of channels, so for them we're going to send them those, rather than just sticking to that one channel. Kind of talking about that, going back to what Matt said around kind of all the omni-channel, where everything's talking to each other. So, and obviously you're glad to know that although this demo that we're about to show kind of touches on a lot of channels and got a lot of moving parts, as I mentioned, there's very simple couple of step campaigns that I'll show you in a minute. Obviously, it's all using previously set up interactions with the website that Liz mentioned and the social channels. But once that is all set up, it's easy to create further interactions from the website and further communication with the social channels. So, as Liz would have shown in the diagram, the first part of this was an announcement from the Teal Green Holidays announcing the partnership between Teal Green Holidays and Teal Green Charities. So what's happened here this morning, this is kind of a standard, one of the kind of the original batch processing campaigns that PeopleStage can handle, is we have selected the Teal Green Holidays active customer base. We've sent them an email announcement announcing that partnership. These people are now sat here waiting, and then, as I mentioned, for an email channel, we get those responses back from our email service provider. So what we're going to do here, we're going to look for any of those email addresses that have bounced. They're then going to be passed on to a postal announcement, so they still get some form of announcement rather than just missing out on that email. So as I said, this morning, this email has gone out. So if I flip over to my email, I can see that at 9:07, I've received this email from Teal Green Holidays telling me about this great partnership that's just been taken place between Teal Green Charities, giving me some information, got a link to their website, which I'm not going to click in this particular scenario. We'll move on to that when I talk around the social media posting. So that email's gone out. And the second part, as Liz said, is around the social media element of this demonstration. So as part of this, we decided, the marketing team decided that we also wanted to post out to the Teal Green Charities Facebook and Twitter pages. However, they said, well, actually, what we'd like to do is for Facebook, we want to serve one image with some relevant text. And for Twitter, we want to serve a different image that's relevant to that text. Now, obviously, that could be two campaigns, but with new functionality within PeopleStage, we have the ability to do a multi-social post. So we've got one campaign, we're going to post out to both of the pages, but we're going to tailor what we deliver out there. So first of all, if I zoom into this audience and show you, what we're selecting here is a slightly different way that you would normally see with other campaigns in PeopleStage. We're not selecting people or supporters or transactions. We're selecting pages. So this is the Teal Green Charities Facebook page, and this is the Teal Green Charities Twitter page. And then if we come over here to the content of this campaign, I'm just going to put this into edit mode so I can show you the details of this content step, and then we'll be able to publish it live and show you that working. So what we've got here in our content step, we can see here we've got our title, which stays the same for both posts, but we're going to tailor our text that goes up, and we're going to tailor the image. So we can see here on our text that for our this is the Facebook one, we're going to go across and we're going to tell people about the Cats Protection London to Paris bike ride, while serving up an image that's relevant to that, and vice versa for the other, which you get in PeopleStage because we've split this content step. This will go across to Twitter, and this one is going to be all about Marie Curie Canadian Rockies event, and then serving up a relevant image for that. And then if we move across to the delivery step of this campaign, we can see that we've split this delivery. So this is the Facebook post that's going to go through, and this is the Twitter. Like some email service providers can handle, can serve up a kind of a preview. the integration with the social channels allows us to show, serve up a beautifully rendered preview of what's going to be served out to those channels. So moving on to the demonstration here. So what we'll do now is we're just going to put a schedule on this particular campaign to run, and we will publish this out. It asked me to put in my password to confirm because I'm about to authorize something that's going to publish a live interaction. So this is going out to those platforms. This will then publish out, and it will be processed in the normal way any other people stage campaign is picked up. So I don't know, anyone that uses people stage will know that it's constantly polling every 60 seconds in these normal kind of standard campaigns for an event. So any moment now, this will get picked up and it will start running. Now, while we wait for that and wait for those posts to deliver out to the social platforms, just want to cover off the fact that in this demonstration, we're posting out as a page post to those pages. But what we would probably do in this scenario, if this would be a live scenario, what we'd probably do in this event instead would be actually doing, as Liz mentioned, a paid social ad. But the limitation we have there is people stage is perfectly capable of preparing that audience and an exclusion list and uploading to the social platforms, but then there is a delay at the social platform while it prepares everything that it needs to then go and push that out to the relevant people. So we just wouldn't have time to show that actual the posting of a paid ad, which is why we chose with the social post, the page post in this example. So you can see this is now running, and it's actually just telling me that was finishing Twitter. So I think it's probably already posted to Facebook. So if I jump over here, and if I look on Teal Green Charities Facebook page, what hopefully we'll see, there we go. So that rendered image that we saw in that preview, we can see here that we're going to find out upcoming charity events for Teal Green Charities with a link to the website for the Catch Protection London to Paris bike ride, and we've got the image that's relevant to that. Whereas vice versa, if we swap over to Twitter, we should see that has just arrived there. And again, we've got that beautifully image that's been posted from Facebook, from PeopleStage, sorry. Again, we've got the link to the website, and obviously this one referring to the Marie Curie Canadian Rockies trek with the relevant image. So that gives you kind of an example of how that goes through, and we can post to those platforms and give tailor that comment all from one singularized campaign. Which leads us nicely on now to the next part of the demonstration, which is around the live streaming, the live events, and being able to interact live. So we've got two scenarios here. The first one being a known supporter showing up on the site and signing in, and actions that will be shown from that, which I'll talk you through. Also, we'll show the scenario where obviously someone that's unknown to the charity showing up. Obviously, you don't have any of that data in your FastStat system, but you'd still like to deliver some form of communication based on that action that's taken place on the website. So first of all, we'll go through the scenario where we're known. So I'm going to click through here to the Teal Green Charities website, and we can see here that we've got by default in this top banner, recommended for you, the Plan UK Amsterdam Marathon. So this is the default imagery and recommendation for someone that's not known visiting the site. However, I know that I'm known to this website, so I'm going to sign in. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to log into this website here. And as soon as I hit that login button and it signed me in, what will have taken place is that message would have been delivered to the Kafka queue, and PeopleStage will have seen that and been able to react on that in their real time. As you can see, that campaign's already running. And that will be going off to deliver an email from our .mailer, our .digital account. So that is now off running, and that has all happened from me signing in. While that email goes off and delivers, just want to talk a little bit around what Liz mentioned around the pull marketing store and the Kafka message queue. So within the content step of this campaign, obviously this is a known supporter. However, we've been sent information down the queue, down from the Kafka message queue to the email address and other bits of information. But the key two bits here are these ones, so the headline event and the offer code. So these are bits of information as a known supporter have been retrieved from the pool marketing store. So information that's been loaded up there on a daily basis with all the latest information. So not just PeopleStage can pull from that, as you'll see in a minute, other bits of the system will be able to pull from that as well. So these bits of information have been pulled from that pool marketing store to give a relevant communication for that particular supporter. So hopefully, relying on .digital here, if I come over to my emails, there we go, brilliant. I can see I've now just received an email from Teal Green Charities talking about the combined force of Teal Green Holidays. But the really interesting bits here are, as we said, as I've just shown you on that content step, it said they would like me to sign up for the Marie Curie Canadian Rockies Trek for Scotland 2022, based on it knowing thinking that's the best event for me, what's been loaded into that pool marketing store. But also in that pool marketing store, they have information on me around my LTV and how much I'm worth to them. And based on that, they've decided, well, actually, they're going to give me 15% off if I go and sign up for that event to entice that the sign up for that particular event. But furthermore, like Liz mentioned, it's all about delivering that consistent message. So by me signing into that website, the website has also collected that information from the pool marketing store that this is my recommended event. So again, delivering that consistent message via the email that I've received and also when I've signed in to this particular website. So which is great. So moving on to the final scenario now. So I'll just log out that as me. Close that down. So the final scenario being obviously someone showing up to this website that is a completely unknown supporter, which in normal terms, in pre times within PeopleStage, if you haven't got that data within your FastStat system, then you cannot communicate with them. But with the ability, the new functionality within the Kafka messaging queue, we can use all of that data from there to be able to send a communication. So let's click on this link again and come to this website. As you can see, it's defaulted back to the Plan UK Amsterdam Marathon because that's for me. I'm an unknown supporter. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in and I'm going to sign up to the charity. But I'll sign up. See, my mouse decided not to work. Always the thing with live demos. There we go. Let's try that again. So I'm going to come into here. I'm going to sign up. Obviously, I'm not going to sign up as me because I'm already known to the charity. So I'm going to sign my colleague Matt up because I know he loves a good event. So we'll sign him up. And I'm going to sign him up. And again, like when I performed the login, it picked up that message was sent to the Kafka queue for PeopleStage to react on. The moment I press this submit button, the website will also log that event within Kafka messaging queue. The imagery will stay the same on here because it's an unknown supporter. But what will also happen is within the sign up campaign down here, it's a slightly different event because it's an unknown supporter. We'll see. It's beat me to it. The campaign has triggered, it's run, and it's already in the process of delivering that message up to .digital to serve that email. But what I'll just do finally is just zoom in to this content step again. Obviously, again, we can see we've got the offer code and the headline event, but the difference in this campaign will be, it's the fact that these won't be being pulled from the pool marketing store because this being an unknown supporter, we know nothing about them, so there will be nothing for them in that pool marketing store at this particular moment. So these have been served down from the website direct with values for the offer code and the headline event based upon what's been configured on the website. And if I jump over to the email, hopefully any moment now, we'll get the email delivered for Matt. But just while I talk about that. So just in summary, essentially across these two campaigns, we have two slightly different campaigns for the sign in and the sign up, purely to kind of segregate. In one scenario, they're unknown, so I'm going to pull everything from the Kafka message queue, and in the scenario where we do know them, we're going to pull stuff from the pool marketing store. And there we go. We've got this Teal Green Charities email that's come in from Matt. And just to match up with the imagery on that website, we've put in there the Plan UK Amsterdam Marathon. But as an unknown supporter, we're actually going to give a code of 10 off, giving him 10% off to entice him to sign up to that event. So that concludes the demonstration of those elements. What I'll do now is I'll pass back over to Matt to give a summary, a recap of what we've just covered.
Thank you, Nick. So this is the slide that Liz showed before, but just to summarize, so we've got a lot of things going on in that demo, and thanks, Nick. Live demos are always a nightmare. They're always terrifying. So thanks for staying with that one. So we had the initial email broadcast to all of our known customers, where we've got their email address and their consent. So we're publicising that new partnership for charity events, giving a link for those existing known people to go through, log into the website and browse for a potential event to sign up to. And that website interaction can be completely tailored, can show headline events and discount codes, etc., that are particular to that person. We ensured that people that didn't get the email, maybe we tried to send it out to them, but it bounced or something, that we can still react to those events happening, the bounce events, etc. And we can recognize that, and we can choose a different channel to communicate on. Now, in Nick's demo, we just diverted down to postal, but equally, you could phone or you could push out some sort of notification in other ways, depending on the consents and the information that you've got for each of those people. Those email comms were supplemented by those public social page posts, so Facebook and Twitter, which of course anyone that goes and browses or follows the brand can see those, and they can equally click through from those social posts. So we might be getting known and unknown people coming through from those social posts, whereas our original email was only to existing known people. And we saw that when logging into the website, that we were tailoring based on information that we know about existing people versus keeping a kind of default view for brand new people. And depending on whether you were signing up afresh or logging in as somebody who we already know about, we can make the suitable recommendations for what event to sign up to, but we can also choose to define what level of offer code we might want to give, if indeed we do want to give one. It's not obligatory, clearly, but you know, if someone's got particular previous activities, or they've given in particular ways, or they're a certain level of value, we might choose to give some kind of discount code to entice them to take part in an event. And you might only do that for their first event sign up, or you might do it always, depending on you know, how that person's interacting with you and what interactions that they have with the organization. So the important part there is that pool marketing store. So every day the FastStats database is getting built and putting data that we know about existing people into that pool store, so that the Kafka queue data can come down and be combined with that, and all of the emails and all the comms that go out can be a combination of the fact that I've just gone to the website, perhaps I'm browsing this page, maybe I'm hovering over the buy now button, but I haven't yet clicked it. You know, whatever those website events are that are taking place, we can have Kafka configured to recognize those different types of activities, push the event stream data down, combine it with the pool store if it's a known person, and push out a relevant communication saying, hey Nick, notice you're hovering over the Canadian Rockies button. Yeah, how about 10% off to give you the nudge to sign up, that kind of thing. So you know, once those are in place, those event streams will just be continually coming down to people stage as your supporters and new prospects, etc., go onto the site and interact with it. So completely live activities, which is the element, as Nick mentioned, that we were unable to do before, because the FastStats database build is primarily a batch process. It consumes the data that you have at that time, and that obviously doesn't include email events that are going on throughout the day. So the ability to do that immediate reaction is, the brand new element that gives us much more capability than we had before. And again, as Nick mentioned, all those interactions can form part of the FastStats database. All of the clicks, the bounces, the opens, the unsubscribes, the social likes, the comments, the forwards, etc. All of that can complement the information in your FastStats database to be able to allow you to more effectively look at how you can talk to people, what you talk to them about, and what types of things people are interested in and interacting with. So just had a really good question about hovering over a button on a website. It's a good question, actually. It was just an example, but we've got a few minutes left. We were aiming to finish by midday. We have actually had quite a lot of questions in, so I think we'll try and answer a couple quickly now, but we'll compile the full list into something that we can send back to you, so that we can actually respond to more of those queries. So, whoops, just trying to organize my screen a little bit. So just a couple of quick ones. So assume you integrate with CRMs too, or is it a standalone tool? So just to confirm, I mean, the way that the FastStats database is getting built is it's consuming data from your CRMs and other platforms into a standalone database that serves the FastStats and PeopleStage, etc. applications. So yes, it's integrating with your CRM in terms of pulling the data from those, surfacing that within the Aptico applications and allowing you to use that data. But it's also complementing that data with all of this online, social, email, etc. information. So you're getting information from both sides combined together so that you can use it in one place. Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. Your question about monitoring behavior on a website is a good one. Clearly, what you choose to use Kafka for in terms of monitoring those events and etc. that's going on the website should be something that you're conscious of. Is it the right thing to do? What are your limitations in terms of what interactions are acceptable to utilize for marketing, etc. I guess the point is you can set up those Kafka streams for anything you wish, but they obviously need to be done in the right way from a sort of social behavioral point of view. We've got the classic, how much does this cost? Which is dependent. Now, the social integration and the real-time website integration comes as part of the PeopleStage orchestrating platform. Some of you might already have that. Some of you might have a lower tier PeopleStage module. Get some feedback from somewhere. And so, and it's also dependent on how big your database is, how many contact records you have, and so on. So I hate to say it depends, but it does depend a little bit on whether you've currently got an Aptico environment, what modules you've got within there. But we'd obviously be very happy to give some specific quotes on that for anyone who is interested in getting into using this software in this type of way. Similarly, people asking about how much Kafka costs, and again, there are some dependencies there based on volumes of data that you pass through it. Liz, perhaps one for you. You touched on it briefly, so just maybe to finish on, how long does all this take to set up? I guess there's a few moving parts there in terms of getting Kafka in place, etc. But there's a lot of efficiencies that have been put in for the social media side of things, so perhaps we can just quickly finish on that as well.
Yeah, that's right. So in terms of the social setup, using our Aptico app and having all of the settings kind of set up within, so that you've allowed for advertising, for example, within the platforms, and that you as a fast stats administrator are also kind of in charge of the platforms, or maybe you've got a conversation or a connection between those two stakeholders there. Then we're looking at kind of integrating it, say half a day or even less than that, to be honest, an hour or so, if you've got all of that in place. But it all depends on if you've got the information to hand and that your business account is set up to accept advertising, if that's what you want to do.
Cool. Thank you, Liz. Excuse me. Just so we are out of time for the webinar session, so don't want to keep you hanging on. You've got other things to do, busy people. So just to say thanks so much for joining us today. As I mentioned, we'll collate all the questions together that we haven't been able to answer in the time, and we'll get those out to you so everyone can see, a list of all the questions that have been asked and the answers to those. And just in terms of getting in touch with us outside of this webinar, some contact details on the screen there on the slide. So just remains for me to say thanks very much for joining us and hope to talk to you soon. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.